This is a video describing the specialized cells that are found in plants. First thing to review is that plants have unique structures. The three organelles that are unique to plants are the cell wall, the central vacuole, and plastids. As we can see here, we have the central vacuole in the middle, which is used for storage and metabolism. We have the plastids, an example being the chloroplast, which is used for photosynthesis, and of course the cell wall on the outside. But what you don't know is that there are three types of specialized plant cells. When we first studied human anatomy and you started learning about all of the specialized types of cells that are in humans, like red and white blood cells, you have neurons in the brain, in the nervous system that have a different structure. You've got muscle cells, the cardiac, smooth, and skeletal muscle. And so basically just reflecting on the fact that in the human body, there are hundreds and hundreds of different types of cells. Now we're going to switch gears for plants, and plants only have three specialized types of cells. That is Parenchyma, which is here, Sclerenchyma, which is here, and in the middle, Sclerenchyma. So what I want to draw your attention to first is looking at the different structure of these three types of cells. Now the cell wall in this picture of Sclerenchyma is dyed with a black stain, and in this one it's pink. So you can see basically as you go from Parenchyma to Sclerenchyma, the cell wall is becoming thicker, and there is a reason for that. And I want you to also keep in mind that phrase form follows function. The reason why things in biology are structured the way that they are is because of the function that they have. So let's go ahead and look at the first type of specialized cell in plants, which is called Parenchyma. Parenchyma are loosely packed. You can see that they don't really have a particular shape, but they're just kind of all over the place. Sometimes they are cube-shaped, which you can see here, cube-shaped here, or sometimes elongated. I don't really see any elongated cells in this particular picture, but anyway. Obviously, you can see from the picture they contain a large central vacuole, and just drawing your attention to these two cells, this is the cytoplasm, everything else, and the organelles, those little two spots there. I'm not really sure why they're not visible in the other pictures. Probably they're out of focus. These two cells being the only ones that are in focus. But you can see this entire light colored area is the central vacuole. Another important aspect of parenchyma is that they have thin, flexible cell walls. This is going to be important in parts of the plants that are still growing because they need the flexibility of the cell wall because they're still growing. Now, the function of parenchyma, they're involved in a lot of metabolic functions like photosynthesis, of course, because they have a huge central vacuole. They're also going to play a big important role in the storing of water and nutrients and also healing. They're going to form the main part of non-woody plants. Again, like I said, the flexible cell wall. Think about herbaceous plants, the plants that have a green stem, which is flexible. Those are going to be parenchyma cells there. And an example in real life is the fleshy part of an apple. Now, if you think about what the flesh of an apple is, that's where all of the sugars and the nutrients are stored. It's also quite juicy, quite watery. These are the seeds in the middle. And so this reflects the storage of water and nutrients here in the fact that you've got the water and nutrients in the flesh of an apple. Next up, Sclerenchyma cells. Here, the cell walls are a bit thicker, and they're also going to be irregular in shape. Now, the thicker cell wall means it's going to provide more support. So again, you can see the Sclerenchyma cells here, the black color being the cell wall. So you can see they're obviously a lot thicker. And here is a comparison of the two next to each other. So you can really see the difference in the cell wall thickness as well as the size of the vacuole. The unique thing about Sclerenchyma cells is that they are grouped in strands. And the reason why they're grouped in strands is because they are specialized for supporting areas of a plant that are still lengthening. And a good example of this is celery. If you've ever tried to eat celery, sometimes you notice that you end up with these kind of, when you take a bite, you have these strings that end up sticking out. These are Parenchyma strands. So you can see from the diagram is labeled here. All of these little dots are Parenchyma. I would encourage you next time you're in a grocery store and you see, not the Chinese celery, it's a bit harder to see because it's so much smaller, but if you can see, or if you can find the really big thick celery stalks and just look at the outside along the edge, you see like there's these ridges on the outside of the celery stalk. Those are Parenchyma strands, and they're there to support the plant in length. And then the fleshy part of the celery, of course, is parenchyma. That's where the nutrients and water is stored. And the last type of specialized cell is sclerenchyma. These have the thickest and stiffest cell walls. They are going to provide the most support, and they are specifically in parts of the plant where growth is finished. These cells are usually dead at maturity. So you can see here how thick the cell wall is going to provide lots and lots of support. Now, if you've ever eaten a pear, you might notice the difference in texture between the flesh of an apple and the flesh of a pear. The flesh of an apple is smooth, whereas the flesh of a pear is kind of gritty. It has like these little, like kind of sandy particles in it. Those are sclerenchyma cells.